What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with the best, cheap, affordable, budget Motorola smartphones of 2023. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, if you are interested in any of the phones mentioned in this video, I have linked to all of them in the description for your convenience, so certainly check that out. But the first device I want to highlight here is the Motorola Moto G Power 5G 2023. Now, this phone was launched in April of this year, and it does feature a very affordable MSRP of just $299 for the factory unlocked model of the device. Now, keep in mind that just like with this phone and all the others I'll be showing you in this video, you can also go the carrier route, and you can usually save a lot of money if you do get the phone through your carrier. So definitely take a look at all your various options. Of course, if you buy a phone through a carrier, then you are stuck with using that phone with that carrier, but it's possible that could make more sense for you if you are loyal to your carrier. But with the Moto G Power 5G 2023, we're getting a very large 6.5-inch display. The display itself features IPS LCD technology, and it does feature a 120Hz refresh rate. So that faster refresh rate is a nice premium touch, and certainly something that I wouldn't typically expect to find with a phone in this segment. In addition to that, the display is 1080p, so everything is very crisp and clear here. We're getting a PPI of 405, a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we're getting an 83.6% screen-to-body ratio. So pretty small bezels all throughout, with a slightly thicker bottom bezel. Now with this device, we're getting a 16 megapixel front-facing camera, which is really good, and definitely check out my full review video of this phone and all the other phones mentioned in this video to see a variety of different photo and video samples from them. Now what I think makes this device especially impressive is the amount of storage. So this phone does feature 256 gigabytes of internal storage, and in addition to that, it is compatible with microSD card expansion. Now it is possible that if you get this phone through a carrier, you might get less storage, but at least for the $299 factory unlocked model of the phone, it does give us 256 gigs. In addition to that, with this phone, we're getting a fingerprint sensor mounted on the power button on the side here, so it's very fast and responsive. That works really well. We're also getting face unlock too, and then we're getting a triple camera setup on the back of the device with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. Now with this phone, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM paired up with the MediaTek Dimensity 930 processor. And here are the scores that I got from the Geekbench 6 benchmark. I got a single core score of 902 and a multi-core score of 2261. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone so that you can compare your score to the various scores I'll be showing you for the various phones featured in this video. But you should expect to get pretty decent performance out of this device, and if you're someone who uses their smartphone mainly for phone calls, text messages, and then light social media and light web browsing, this will be more than enough. You'll really only run into slowdowns if you're doing more demanding tasks on this phone, such as high-performance gaming or maybe video editing, for example. But in addition to that, video recording does max out at 1080p with both the front and rear cameras, and we're getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery with 15-watt fast charging compatibility. And then also keep in mind that there is no NFC with this device, and actually none of the phones in this video have NFC besides the final one that I'll be showing you. Now this device is made completely of plastic besides the display, which is made of glass, but overall I really like the look and feel of this device. I especially like this frosted finish on the back because it doesn't really pick up any fingerprints. And then giving you a tour of the device, on the left side we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. On the right we have volume up, volume down, and the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here we have the noise canceling microphone. Then on the bottom of the phone we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then on the back of the device, we have the camera module with the flash and Motorola logo. Now the next phone I want to show you here is the Moto G Play 2023. Now the G Play 2023 was actually launched in December of 2022, and this is the oldest phone of all of them that I'll be showing you here in this video. That being said though, we're still getting a lot of value here, especially for an entry-level device. Now this phone features an MSRP of $169, and I believe if you want to get it at a carrier, you can possibly get it for free. So definitely take a look at that. Now, even though this is meant to be a very affordable smartphone, we're still getting a lot of very impressive features with it. For example, we're getting a very large 6.5-inch display. Now, this display is IPS LCD, and it features a 90Hz refresh rate. So a little bit of a faster refresh rate compared to that standard 60 Hz. But one downside with the display here on the phone is that it is 720p. So keep that in mind. We are getting a PPI of 270, a 20:9 aspect ratio, and a 79.7% screen to body ratio. So the bottom bezel is pretty thick here, but I do at least appreciate that even though this is a lower end phone, we do have a hole punch for the front facing camera, which is 5 megapixels. Now out of all the phones I'll be showing you here in this video, this one does have the least amount of storage at 32 gigabytes, but at least the phone does support microSD card expansion so that you can add in a microSD card to offload photos and videos. Now there's no wireless charging with this phone, but we do have a fingerprint sensor located on the back of the device. So you can see that works really well. We'll try that one more time. There we go. However, keep in mind that there's no face unlock here with the phone, so the fingerprint sensor is your only way to get into it unless you want to put in your PIN code all the time. Now with this device, we're getting a triple camera setup. We're getting a 16 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images, and portrait mode is supported with both the rear and front cameras on this device. Now with this phone, we're getting 3 gigabytes of RAM and the MediaTek Helio G37 processor. Now unfortunately, this phone does not support 5G connectivity, so keep that in mind. It only works with 4G LTE. And then with this device, we're getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery that can charge at up to 10 watts. And then finally, there's no NFC with this device. Now, even though this is a very affordable smartphone, it still does feel of decent quality. Certainly doesn't feel really low end by any means, even though it is made of plastic. But taking a look at the left side of the device, we have just the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. On the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and the power button. Then up top here, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack and noise canceling microphone. Then on the bottom of the device, we have the microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. And then on the back of the phone, we have the camera module with the flash and the fingerprint sensor, which features a Motorola logo. Now, the back of the phone is pretty boring, but I do at least appreciate that it is a matte finish because just like the last device I showed you, you really can't see any fingerprints here. Now, moving on to the next handset, this is the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2023. Now, don't get confused because there is a separate device called the Moto G Stylus 5G 2023. So this phone is 4G LTE only, so it is a bit less expensive in exchange for that limitation. But overall, this phone does offer a lot of value for what it is. It has an MSRP of just $199 for the factory unlocked model of the phone, and just like the previous phones, I'm sure at the carriers it's even cheaper. But we're getting a 6.5-inch display, so a nice large display here with the device. The display is IPS LCD with a 90Hz refresh rate. We're getting a 720p panel with this phone, so not 1080p, which is a bit unfortunate, but we're getting a PPI of 270, a 20:9 aspect ratio, and an 84.5% screen to body ratio. So overall, pretty small bezels here with this device. Now we do have a hole punch up top for the front facing camera, and that front camera is 8 megapixels. Now internally with this device, we're getting 64 gigs of storage along with microSD card expansion. So compared to the Moto G Play, which I showed you previously, it is nice that we're getting double the storage with this phone. Now there's no wireless charging here, but we do have a fingerprint sensor located on the power button. So we'll try that right now, and it's very fast and responsive. Also very accurate too, which is great. And then this phone does have face unlock as well. Now with this device, we're getting a dual camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. And then with this device, we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM and the MediaTek Helio G85 processor. So again, with that processor, there is no support for 5G, so this phone is limited with just 4G LTE. Now at this point in 2023, you can definitely get by with just 4G LTE, that's for sure. But at the same time, you should consider that 5G is what the carriers are really investing in, and that's where you're going to get the most coverage, especially moving forward. Now here's the results from Geekbench 6 on this phone. So I got a single core score of 446 and a multi-core score of 1491. So again, you might want to consider comparing these scores to your current device. Also, I almost forgot to show you the benchmark score from the previous phone. Keep in mind though that for the Moto G Play, for some reason, Geekbench 6 is not available. So these are the scores from Geekbench 5. So I'm not sure if you can really compare these scores to the other phone scores because it does use a slightly different benchmark, but I just wanted to let you know about that. Now video recording with the Moto G Stylus 2023 does max out at 1080p for both the front and rear cameras. And then with this phone, we are getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, as well as stereo audio. However, there is no NFC with this phone. Now the signature feature of this device, hence the name of it, is that there is a stylus built into the bottom of the phone. So the stylus is very easy to pop out. Then from there, you can use it for general navigation on the phone, or if you want to, you can go to this convenient sidebar on the side here, and then create a note, and then you could do drawings, for example, or you can write as well. Really do whatever you want. But on the left side of the device, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. On the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and then the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone, Then on the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, speaker, and then the stylus. And then on the back of the device, we have the camera module, flash, and Motorola logo. Now I'm a big fan of this finish. It's a frosted finish, as you can see here. And then I do like too that when you kind of move it in different directions, it does look different. So overall, a really nice looking phone, especially considering that it is very affordable. Now next up, we have the Motorola Moto G 5G 2023. Now this device features an MSRP of $249, so also very affordable, and it was launched back in May of 2023. So a pretty recent phone here from Motorola. Now with this phone, we're getting a 6.5-inch display. It is an IPS LCD display, and it features a 120Hz refresh rate. Now this display is 720p, but despite that, it still does look pretty good, and you get decent viewing angles as well. So it's not like they gave this phone the worst quality display out there. Now the PPI of this phone is 270, we're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, and we're getting an 82.9% screen to body ratio. So a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel, but for an affordable device, I feel like it does have a really nice design to it. Now up top here, we do have a hole punch for the front facing camera, and that front camera is 8 megapixels. Now internally here with the phone, we're getting quite a bit of storage with 128 gigs of storage along with microSD card expansion. So 128 gigs is a pretty generous amount. Of course, not as much storage as what we got with the G Power 5G, but at the same time, I feel like 128 gigs will still be more than enough for most people out there. Now this phone has no wireless charging, but there is a fingerprint sensor located on the power button, and that works really well. So you can see, just like that, it works great. And then with this phone, we also have face unlock, and then we have a dual camera setup on the back with a 48 megapixel main camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. And then there is portrait mode with both the rear and front cameras here on the phone. Now with this device, we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM paired up with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 480 Plus 5G processor. So it is nice that even though this is an affordable smartphone, it still does work with 5G connectivity. In fact, this is the most affordable 5G compatible device that I'll be showing you today. Now here are the scores from Geekbench 6 with this device. So as you can see, I got a single core score of 733 and a multi-core score of 1772. So out of all the phones I've shown you here in this video, I feel like this device kind of gives us the best balance of great performance, but at the same time, coming in at an affordable price tag. But also with this phone, we're getting a 5000 milliamp hour internal battery. We're also getting stereo speakers, which is cool, but unfortunately no NFC. Now this phone is made completely of plastic besides the display, which is made of glass. But on the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. On the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. And then on the back of the phone, I really like this frosted finish here. I like that it really doesn't show any fingerprints at all, just like some of the other devices I showed you. But we're getting that camera module with the flash and Motorola logo here. And then saving the best for last, we have the Moto G Stylus 5G 2023. Now this phone was launched in June of this year, so a pretty recent launch from Motorola, and it does feature an MSRP of $399. So it is the most expensive phone of all the ones featured in this video. However, as you'll see, this phone offers a lot of value on its own, and I definitely feel like it's worth the price. Now with this device, we're getting an IPS LCD display with 120Hz refresh rate. We're also getting a 1080p panel here on the phone with a PPI of 399, so a great looking display, very bright, and really good viewing angles too. We're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio and an 87.5% screen to body ratio. So this phone does have the smallest bezels of any of the phones that you've seen in this video so far. And then up top here, we do have a hole punch for the front facing camera featuring a 16 megapixel camera. Now this phone features 256 gigabytes of storage along with microSD card expansion, so a lot of storage. And then we're also getting a side mounted fingerprint sensor, which works really well. And then we're also getting face unlock here with the phone. So overall, a really nice setup here. Now taking a look at the cameras on the back of the device, we're getting a dual camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera and an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. Also, we're getting support for portrait mode with both the front and rear cameras, which is nice. Now with this phone, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM along with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 processor. So that's a brand new processor from Qualcomm, which is great. And it also works really well. So definitely expect to get really good performance here with the phone. And in addition to that, with that processor, we are able to get 4K video recording. So this is the only phone of the ones that I've shown you that can record in 4K with the rear camera, but the front camera is limited at 1080p. Now I did run a benchmark test with this phone and I got a single core score of 937 and a multi-core score of 2703. So really good scores there. And then with this device, we are getting a very large 5000 milliamp hour internal battery that can be recharged up to 20 watts. Also, what's nice too is that we're getting stereo audio here at the phone, and we're getting NFC as well. So this is the only phone of all the ones I've shown you that you can actually use for tap and pay. Now, one of the signature features with this device is the stylus. So I already showed you the LTE only version of the Moto G Stylus, but of course this is the better 5G model of the phone. But the stylus works in a very similar way. You just pop it out, you can create a note, we'll get rid of that, but you can draw here, there we go. An overall pretty responsive stylus experience, so it's great for navigating around the phone, signing documents, and doing things like that. And then when you no longer need the stylus, it's very easy to put back into the phone, and then you can continue using the device. But taking a look at the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and the fingerprint sensor, which doubles as the power button. By the way, this phone is made completely of plastic, besides the display being made of glass. But up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone, and then on the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, speaker, and then the stylus. And then on the back of the phone, we have this really nice finish, the same as the other G Stylus that I showed you, where it doesn't pick up any fingerprints, which is great. We have that dual camera setup with the flash and Motorola logo. So each of these devices has its various pros and cons, and especially when consider what you're getting related to the price. But overall, Motorola has launched some really great, affordable, budget phones through their G series this year, and hopefully this video did a nice job showing you the various differences and similarities amongst all of them. But definitely take a look at these various devices. I have linked to them in the video description. Let me know which one's your favorite and which one you feel like is the best value of them all. And with all that said, I will see you in the next video. Take care and have a great rest of your day.